Hi, I'm Jennifer Janish, owner of Adored Salon and Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions. I'm obsessed with curly hair. I cut it, style it, and extend it, and this podcast is all about my curly girl obsessions that stretch far beyond just curly hair.
Hey there. Hello. Thank you for coming today to the Curly Girls Obsessions podcast. I'm here today with Alyssa. Hello. She's one of the team girls here at the salon. I'm Jennifer from Adored Salon, Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions, the Curly Girls Obsessions podcast. Jennifer behind the chair. And today, Alyssa and I are talking about
we are talking about the importance of taking care of yourself.
seriously, because in our business, you can go a long time without take care of everybody else, but ourselves get pushed to the side. I think too, like in life mentally too, sometimes we're just kind of like, I don't have the time to deal with myself.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking about this podcast, and I was like, what am I going to talk about? So I think that for me, it was like a lot of, life was happening, and I was like, you know what, I'm too busy. Like, I was always in the mindset of like, just keep going, just keep going. Like, everything will work itself out. Just keep going. I feel like I was raised like that. And, it works for a while. It works.
You are raised like that. Your mom is like that.
She
right?
is. And it works for a while.
Yeah.
Like it catches up to you. And like all of a sudden, I'm like, why am I exhausted? Why, like, I'm not feeling the best. I'm not producing the best. I'm not like just being the best person that I could be. And I feel like that was well, that's how we got this topic, was we were in a meeting, and she's like what, I think you said, like, what was the worst choice you made this year? And I was like, taking so long to finally take care of myself. Like, I feel like halfway through the year, I like was in like a pretty low place. I was like going through a lot of shit in my life. Um, and I was just like, why is the first thing to go when I'm busy and life happens and work is crazy? Like, what the first thing to go was always like myself, self-care. It was like always everyone else, what everyone else was doing, everyone else's problems, like all that stuff. And it was just a big realization for me. And man, do I feel better.
Do you feel like you were doing a lot of busy work to just remove it from your mind?
So, like, yes and no. Like, I feel like, yes, I was like focused on, like, I don't know. I've always been the friend that like my friends come to for advice, and like my family comes to, like, I don't know. It's just I was always that person. So I felt like I was very much stuck in the mindset of always being that person. So like I also, but you're right. I did like take it on. Like I care about those people, so I wanted to be there for them. And then like, oh, like busy, like I got to go to the gym, I got to get to work, I got to post. Like there's so many things that were going on. Um and like addition to that, that was in a relationship at the time, so like there was just, to answer your, yes, I think that like there was a lot that I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to avoid all this, add it on. Like I can do this. Like again, that's how I was raised too. Like you just do it. Like that's always what it was. And you've taught, like, just always been like that too. Like you just do it.
I am so guilty of
You just do it.
Like I feel like you go through and you do it. But for me, a lot of the time, like my face will hit the concrete so hard because it's like, okay, you have totally taken your foot off the gas in this area, and you've been avoiding this conflict that confronting it could cause, or it's going to make you struggle a little bit if you confront this, or you're going to have to step out of your box if you confront this. Yeah, right, like step out of your box, confront it, and take care of it. It's a lot easier to just sit on the couch and just kind of like get cozy and watch Netflix, or get lost in social media, or like you said, to have conversations, take on your friends, and as stylists,
your clients too,
and you know, what's even different from your friends or your family, like, I mean, of course, you're gonna hug your mom, whatever, right?
Right.
But when you're a stylist working on a client, your hands are on a client, physically on them.
I think we talked about this in the last
Yeah, we
podcast
did.
too.
And I
It's
feel
so
like it's just
important.
like you just take that on, but you don't understand what's actually wrong that day,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Like if you,
Like sometimes you'll just leave work and just be like, oh, I'm just so flustered. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what happened today, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
Like, and it
sometimes too, it's like I find if and this is just, I mean, this is not, if this has ever happened to you as a client of mine, I'm not saying that this is why, but a lot of the times, like if I know that I gotta take a lot of time with them, and sometimes the conversations can be a little bit heavy, I have to put in my AirPod, like when I'm doing an extension install or raise, and we've colored, we've Brazilian blowout. We've, now we're putting in the
you talked
extension.
about your aunt, uncle, your dad, your
Yes,
cousin.
like,
Yeah, like
let me just get lost in some conversation that I can be in a better place, or a song or something like that. But also it's kind of avoiding, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it definitely does. And you go through life and you'll pick up those things and you'll do it. And then the next thing, like your face is hitting the concrete again.
right. Um, so I was wondering if you had like let me say, what was your experience um trying to balance like being a mother and taking care of yourself at the same time? And like what would you like, I don't know. I was just thinking about this podcast and I was like, as a mom, like I struggled just I only have to take care of myself. Like at the end of the day, I have friends, family, whatever, but like I really only have to like be responsible for myself. And it's still hard. So I'm like, oh my God, you have 4 kids, like where does the self-care come in? When did you realize that like you're like, wait, am I taking care? Like what's the story behind that?
So when, like, I feel like everything goes out the door that you ever, right? Like you're at this stage, really great stage right now for you, right? Everything is you,
I'm
you
very much in control of my situation for the most
with
part.
with
at
the
my
exception
age,
of like maybe your dog will wake up in the middle of the night, right?
Yeah.
Like, or your friend will call you in the middle of the night upset about
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
right? When you have kids, Jackie and I kind of talked about this, like everything just kind of goes out the window. So like I can start when I had little Brad. I was 26. I was like a mall
Yeah.
fanatic. Every Monday I was at the mall, right? And I would go, I had my circuit of stores. I bought something, I knew what was a good price or what I just fell in love with, right?
Mhm.
And I remember going to the mall with him for the first time and being like, okay, let me even just back up a little bit more. Those mall visits, I had a Camaro Z28 convertible that was like,
It was like your self-care,
oh,
like shopping, retail therapy, that's what they call it.
I just love driving this car, right?
Yeah.
Like I do have to love my car. I was never, and no offense to a minivan mom, but I was like, I'm never driving a minivan. Don't ever ask me to get one. I don't care how convenient it is.
And I can't wait to feel like that.
I will
One day.
just like crack my back putting that carrier up in a truck, or I cannot drive a minivan, right? So going back to this pride and joy car of mine, this Camaro, loved it, right? Like I just thought I was the cutest thing. And I would go to the mall in it, whatever. So I get pregnant. I gain an insane amount of weight with Brad Jr. I think it was like 95 pounds. It was crazy. So guess what? I could no longer get in and out of the Camaro. Oh, that was takeaway number one, right? And that sounds so selfish, but it wasn't. I love that freaking car, and I worked so hard for that thing.
I mean, that goes along the line of like, it's something that you worked really hard
Really
for.
hard
So like,
for. And I loved
just
it.
the little retail therapy of getting in your
Yes.
car that you love, that you
And
worked
you
for, and going to
go,
spend the money
yeah,
that you
it
worked
just
so hard for.
all
Like,
the whole thing of it, right? So I had to get rid of that car. Brad Senior took it over, which I think was even worse because I could see it, but I couldn't get in and out of it. And so then I have this baby, and I go to the mall, and just you have a baby, you go to the mall, you now have to get the stroller out of the back, you open the stroller, now you got to get the carrier out of the car and click it into the stroller, but you also cannot get the carrier out of the car and click it into the stroller and then go walk away and get your purse. Like the entire thing is like you're thinking about how to keep your baby safe, right? So like you have to like do this dance around the car. Bottom line, like you pull into the mall, you pull into your parking spot, you get out of the car, you got your cute bag, you walk in, no big deal. Now you got a baby. Now it takes 10 minutes to get out of that freaking car. Oh, and then you know, hopefully they don't have like a crazy explosion or blowout in their diaper. And by the way, you're in Express looking at the cutest outfit that probably doesn't fit you, and the baby starts screaming, and now you got to walk into Von Mar half a block away to sit down and have a comfortable room to feed your baby. Like I was like, I'll never forget this, like crying on the couch over the mall visit and not being able to go, right? So that's just the start of the change with children.
Yeah.
And you know, and for me, I had Brad Jr. 3 years later, I had Karina in there. We had our first house, then we had our second house, and then I had Karina. I was driving back and forth to Oak Brook to work from Aurora. We moved like 45 minutes away. So then it was like this whole big dance of how to be like how I'm going to get ready before we leave so that they can get ready to get in the car. Everything becomes compromised.
So when do you feel like you got the self-care back? Like, is that like more recent, or has it been on and off? And like,
Hmm. I still don't think I have it.
what?
I don't.
You,
I mean, yes, I'll work out. I started working out this year with a trainer. I stopped working nights, but
I think that you do more than you think too. Like those Epsom salt baths you
yes,
talk about, and like
yeah,
what's that? Like the bed, the nail
the
bed.
prana mat,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
the nail bed.
the nail bed.
That's what you do for self-care when you get to be my age.
Well,
You lay on a bed of nails.
I've been thinking about it a lot.
The thing
Isn't
is,
it like a toxin?
yes,
or
it helps your lymphatic system drain. It's really good.
That's
I
super
do
cool.
love that. Like, I guess that's, I guess, what it is like. It's different. Whereas before, like everything, before you have children, everything really is about you.
Yeah.
And if there is a significant other in your life, then it becomes about you and them, but you still can place yourself before them. And
Mhm.
you'll do it without realizing that you're doing it because
Yeah,
you
for
can,
sure.
right? You just can.
Yeah.
Once you have children, that all goes out the door. And we're just always expected to, I mean, take care of it all. And then you add businesses in, and it's like, you guys, I don't think of you as my children. I think of you as my team, but I feel responsible for a lot of things that go on with you guys in here. So then I might be sitting in the self stressing about things that happen,
Well, then
like,
maybe this is a good podcast.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, you have a little extra time now. I'm no professional, then just getting my foot started on, because like I think before too, it was more of like I was like I I've always worked out. Like I've always cared about myself in that way, but it was, I think now it's more of like I work out because I want to be healthy and I want to feel healthy, and I think before it was like I worked out because I wanted to look good
Mhm.
and not necessarily for myself, but now it's like for me. Like I'm there for me. Like I'm not there to impress anybody, or like I'm not there to be like, oh, like I'm posting a gym selfie. Like, no, like I'm there because I enjoy it and I want to do it. And like I've definitely changed the way that I work out a lot, as like, I don't know. I think a lot of it's like sprung from COVID too. I was just bored. Like, I don't
Right.
know what else to
To
do.
do, what do you do?
Right?
Yeah, and I think to your point, like you're noticing, like, okay, I'll talk about the soft bath or
Yeah, yeah.
hot yoga or going to work out and doing those things. Yes, as of last year, like things,
That was the big click for you.
yeah, like I was just like, okay, I have to stop working
Like, this is
12,
not
14 hours.
sustainable anymore.
It
Yeah.
just wasn't like my body was falling apart. I'm telling you. Like your arm stops working and you're trying to do a haircut and your arm's like, "Oh." You're like, oh, how is this? What is
Right?
happening?
Can't even
And I
watch
think
my
it
arm.
is too like levels of stress, wh- ebb and flow in your body, right? Like sometimes you could go through periods in your life where nothing can get you down, nothing seems to bother you. You're, and maybe is that in a time of distraction, like when you're in the distraction, or it's just in flow, right? Like
Right.
it's just flowing. Everything seems to be flowing in your direction positively and going along really well so that things do work out. And I did hit that wall where I was like, okay, no, now you need to start taking care of you. You need to start doing this stuff for yourself. And so I think that's what does change after kids is like it comes in small bursts. Whereas before kids, like you're like, you can take the time for bigger clumps of it. Like to
Yeah.
decide to go away with your friends for the weekend the week before, right? Like you're like, you know what? Is this okay? Can I? Yeah, hell yeah, go have fun. Because when you're here, I want you to be 100% good and happy, and you need that refreshing thing. That's the part that
Definitely
after
feel
kids,
refreshed.
yeah,
I
I
think
would too.
too, like I, a lot of it, like what it, the worst part was when I was in school. Like when I was in beauty school, I was working. You're in school
Yeah.
9 to 5, and then I was coming here 5 to 9, and then somehow, some way, I was psycho enough to go to the gym at 9 p.m. and get home and eat dinner at 11. Like my 21-year-old body could not do that now. I don't know how I did that when I was like 18, 19. Like I did that for like a full year of like, I mean, I wouldn't go to the gym every night, but it was like 4 nights a week that I would like go to school, go to work, go home, like go to the gym. And that was just my life. And like I it totally caught up to me over the summer. Like the first couple months of the summer, I was like, I'm losing it. I'm losing my shit totally. I was like, I don't feel good. I don't feel like I'm producing good in the salon. I don't feel like I'm necessarily being the best person, like I said earlier. Like there was so many things that I was just like, I need to reel this in. And then I started writing and journaling.
Yeah,
And
well,
then,
doesn't that help?
I mean, I just never really did it before. And I think a lot of it came from not wanting to know what I was thinking or like sitting
Right,
with it. I was like,
distracting.
it's fine. I
We're
can't
good.
see. Like, we're good.
We're
Keep
good.
moving. Yeah.
Good.
So I started writing a lot and just like sitting there and just like listening to my thoughts. And I feel like that has brought me like more closure and like self-respect, self-love, all the stuff that I've really been missing out of my routine for sure.
Do you think that writing it gave you so when you write, are you writing about past experiences or things that you want to evolve into?
I think it's a lot of all of the above. Like it's a lot of like if I like realize something from my past that I'm like, oh my God, this is why I do this, or this is like I'll like write that out, or like the bonfire, which is we could get into a whole thing about that. That is like a lot of like definitely avoided situations that I was like, no, 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 I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. But like recently I've been like going back into it and being like, oh, like this is what happened and this was my experience. And like I feel like that's been helping, but a lot of it is like manifesting what I want and like the future and how I want to be or how I am right now and just realizing that and like where I've been and where I want like so yeah, all of it,
Like
honestly.
peeling away the layers
Yeah,
of an
for sure.
onion, the
For
parts
sure.
that are hard and make you cry. But then like
There are onions are great.
right,
Love onions.
it helps you get there.
It does.
It helps you get there. And
It
then
does, for sure.
and then yeah, then like I think it's like when I write, I have to realize what I was missing and what I wasn't doing to then project what the best possible outcome in the future is.
Mhm,
And that's how I did the same thing at the beginning of the year. Like I got this, I showed it to you that it's called the Modern Warrior
Oh, yeah.
workbook thing, right? So
That's super cool.
it's really cool because it asks you the same question like 10,000 different ways so that you're constantly coming back to the reason why of what you want in the future, right? What was it in your past that didn't serve you? How are you course correcting and what are you creating new in the future? And I think that all plays into like the self-care, and maybe because mine is in little bursts, that's just what's best for me. I think it's probably all that's allotted for me time-wise, right? Like you see how busy your mom is, you know how hard she works. Like there's only so much vacation time, right? And
Right.
there's only like the vacation, the hardest thing with the damn vacation is it ends. You know, like you could take a
It's so
big
hard to get back to work.
It is.
I'm fine today because we were just there for like one night and it was no big deal. Like I got right back at it the next day. But yeah, when you're on like a long, when it's warm outside, it's not warm out there.
Yeah,
Like
looking
we're
outside,
looking out the
yeah.
window and it's coming down. The snow is
Yeah.
coming down.
Definitely coming down. And what's hard for me when I go on vacation is like it takes me a good 4 days to realize that I'm somewhere beautiful and
Yeah.
away, and like maybe I should detach because I really, really, really struggle with that. Really struggle. I think you're pretty good at that.
I'm really good. I will be on vacation but everyone knows too. Like everyone's like, oh, like she's probably I think I did answer this weekend on vacation.
Yeah.
I think you messaged no, that was Sunday.
I didn't. I was surprised. First, I just was surprised that you responded as fast as you did because normally you're like, oh, group message.
I
Nope.
know. Well, I'm not gonna lie. There was the group messages, like one of them that I had on Do Not Disturb, and then like at the beginning of the year, I was like, okay, you can receive messages from work on the weekends. Like you don't have to protect your peace that much.
I try not to, but
No,
like,
but it's no big deal. It's like
you know what happens to me? It's like I'll think of something, and it's like if I don't relay it,
Yep.
like it's not
That's
gonna
exactly.
happen. I sent a text to someone last night in all caps so that they would see it.
Yeah.
Do not open until tomorrow. Like I know it's 10:30
Like, I'm
and
thinking
you're
about this
yeah.
right now.
You don't want to respond to this, but I don't want to forget it.
Yeah,
So
that's an interesting thing because I'm like that too. Like I'll be nuts when my friends are I'll just be like around my friends and I'll think of something. Sometimes it'll be like work related or sometimes it'll be like this crazy like life realization. I'm like, where's my journal? I'm like, I gotta write this down because I'm totally like that. Like I'm
yeah, you'll forget.
just I'll be like, oh, that's cool, and then never ever remember what I was thinking of.
And you're like this. I was yesterday, like I love a new year with new planners.
Oh, right.
New journals,
calendars.
new planners, like love it, love it, love it. And I was listening to, I was first brainstorming about emails, and then I was listening to a podcast, and I was like, ooh, these are good topics for emails and podcasts. And so, like, I filled up this whole, I'm so proud of myself because I'm going to be so organized this month. Like,
Oh,
it's all set up.
yeah.
But
You'll always thank yourself later.
yeah, and I think that too, like with me, if I feel like I have taken care of myself, if I am organized.
I think that I think that a lot of people don't realize how much you can thrive in an organized environment.
Mhm.
I think that most people, I really haven't met someone who doesn't thrive in an organized environment. You can fight that all day. Like,
Yeah.
oh, like I know where everything is. If it's No,
No.
no, you don't. Like you keep telling yourself that, but one day you'll realize that I think the majority of people will feel like they've taken care of themselves if they're
If they're,
organized.
and that is one of my biggest struggles. And I do
Mhm.
think it also comes from having kids
I
because
agree with that myself.
like there's so many different little areas where things can go crazy. And like I'll have something. I remember like when my kids were little, I'd have something all planned out and then someone would get sick and the whole day was thrown, right? Like we'd be at the
And you're like,
doctor. They didn't send
dang it.
prescriptions through email then. Like you'd have to physically go to the pharmacy with a piece of paper, wait there with your kids. Like the whole day was done.
Yeah.
And so I think it stopped me from planning because I hated when my plan got derailed. Like it really messed with my head. You know, like you're like, oh, I'm gonna
I
do,
think that a lot of people can relate to that.
yeah,
for
like
sure.
you're just like, oh gosh. You know, when you try to course correct, it just doesn't work.
Even with like friends, like, oh, it used to bother me so much when plans fall through, and now I'm like, oh, thank God.
Right?
I could go to bed.
I could just do anything.
Like, no
And maybe
worries.
that's the other part too, is like you plan so much and then things happen that you're like, I'm so sick of planning. Now things just don't get planned. Brad and I totally struggle with this. We suck at planning, and I think it's because we have 4 kids, right? So we
It's
plan,
hard. They're all older to get them
Yeah.
all in the same place all at once.
or
Like,
even just for us to go somewhere and be like, okay, you're going to be accountable for X, Y, and Z. Oh, I forgot you were doing that. I made plans with so and so, or
you're like,
great.
it.
Yes. It just comes to that point where, but if you fail to, what is that? Like, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So it's like I'm setting myself up for failure on a regular basis by not planning. But this
Yeah.
weekend is Brad Senior's birthday, right? Normally we would go away for the whole weekend. Our kids have disappointed us for probably the last 3 years in a row while we've planned this because Miley ends up being at home by herself at God only knows what time because Brad Jr. is like, oh, I totally forgot. I'm blah blah blah. And Karina will be like, well, it's the last weekend before I go back to school. You know, I can't stay. So I'm sitting here today and I'm like, I really should be planning this weekend away for Big Brad and I because we really need to be away, right? Come hang out with Miley and
No,
and Augie and the
you're in my
cats.
house
Yeah.
to myself with Miley won't bother me. I know she won't. I'll just be on the couch with
Yeah.
the dog.
Well, and Brad Jr. got called out to storm yesterday. He's like, yeah, I'm definitely not gonna be home for 3 days. Like he's
Oh
just
my
gone.
God.
That's the part too. Like these kids are growing up and their life is changing. So why would I think that he would be able to
Right.
man the house, right? No, he's
Yeah.
not.
I think along the line of organization too, one of my good friends has drilled this into my head and I love her for it because it's so true. Like she says that people's room and people's cars always reflect where their mind is at. Like if your room is a mess, maybe you're not too clean up here. Like if your car's like just there's just crap everywhere, like your space is a what's the word she always says? It's just like
Chaos.
yeah, it's a mirror to what your headspace looks
What
like
you're
in a
doing.
way.
That's interesting. I just found this picture on Pinterest of this bedroom and I sent it to Brad. Like our whole house has been redone within the last 2 years and multiple rooms have been redone multiple times. The only room that has not been ever touched
Is yours.
is mine. Ever. Like it's the builder paint from when we built the house 20 years ago. And this room is so gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Like I sent him the picture. He's like, oh, we're doing that. Like
Oh, that's so
it looks so cool. The walls are black.
good.
And
I asked for black walls in my room and my mom was like, no. I was
Okay.
like,
Let me find it.
yes, oh my gosh, I
it's
wanna
so
see.
gorgeous.
but
It-
that'll be so good.
It
For you guys
right
to just
to-
have like a new space, you
well,
know?
and to actually like love the bedroom
Mhm.
because
Oh, that's it.
yeah,
That's so cool. I wish I could see what maybe you'll post about
yeah,
it one day.
I can finish it.
Yeah.
But it's like black with copper accents
Yeah, that's
and
super cool.
white sheets. And he was all over it. I was like, I think I can even recreate that painting that's above the bed. And yeah, I'm like, so now this will be the next mission.
Right. And then like I don't know what it is, but the second that like I get like a new piece of furniture, or like even if just my bed is made just how
Perfect.
perfectly I want it to be, like there's nothing on my floor, freshly vacuumed. As soon as you light
Oh
that
yeah.
candle, like, oh my God,
Perfect.
my head is like so clear. I'm like ready to do anything. Like I am set for life. And then the best part is coming home from work to that.
Yeah.
A clean room, a clean car, like you will never regret cleaning your room.
Right. And nothing looks better than
Yes. Yes. Oh, seriously. I feel like even just like having a clean space like that and like a space that you like is such a huge part of self-care. I mean, really it is. Like if you are not enjoying the space that you're in, I mean, that's a rough
well,
one.
especially where you sleep.
Yeah, I mean,
So you spend a lot of like
your meditative hours there.
right?
Like,
Like you just, I'm like, gosh, this bedroom is just so lacking.
right? But then
So
once you guys do that, like, oh my gosh, it's
I
so
know, I
good.
think it's gonna roll into like a new, or I'm like, oh, that's the thing about being married. When you sleep in the same bed, like you get a hump in the middle of the bed because you have your spot, he has his spot. And we have two cats, and my one cat loves to like make his way to sleep on me at night. And
Oh,
it's like if I'm over too far, I feel this bump in the middle of the bed. I'm like, oh, it's time. We
new
need a new
mattress.
mattress.
Oh,
Like
that would
driving
be
me
even
crazy.
better though. Like
Yeah,
new mattress, new painting, new. Oh,
everything.
I'm excited
It'll
for you.
it'll right for as much as I love to take those salt baths, that because it's all right in the same area. Oh yes, self-care is super important. So I guess okay, if we recap this, being organized creates like if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Right.
That is the creation of it all. Working out is great for you.
We
Um,
talked about journal. Just
journaling,
taking a second to listen to your thoughts. What is
yes.
going on in your
Even if you
head?
don't want to,
Yes, especially when you don't want to,
right?
because
It's
those
the
are the
best
most
time.
important times.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Like and
sure.
I think too, like if you're doing something and you're like, this is just like I feel like I'm treading water and just not getting any distance. Like then you know it's time to think on that thought and figure out why you feel like it's not serving you. Because that's the thing in 2024, I think. Like I in my writings is zero avoidance, and you know, like in a month, 3 months, right? Sometimes it takes a full year to figure out, like, okay, maybe it worked in the beginning, but now you need to change something, tweak it to make it work better for you. That's how I'm living 2024.
Exactly. I think that a lot of it goes along too with something that I've been really focused on is um being more honest with myself, and like if I say that I'm gonna do something, like I have to do it. Like
Mhm.
because
Oh,
I
that
feel
drives me
like
crazy when
the
people don't follow through.
I mean, I think it like ends up almost hurting you, and like you almost like resent yourself, like man, I said I was going to do that and I didn't do it. Like if you really start making promises to yourself and doing them, like especially when they make you uncomfortable, like that is the biggest thing, is like back to that getting out of your comfort zone, you know. I mean, if you make yourself a promise, follow through, because you will thank yourself in the future,
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
and actually thank yourself when you do it.
Right? Because
My
that's a
therapist
lot,
told me
right?
that.
Like that's
She
a
said,
lot.
yeah.
Because it's huge if you, right? I have found through my life, like people, clients would come in and they'd be like, oh my God, how did you do all this? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Like
What are
the
you talking
small
about? And
things.
and then they start asking me questions, and I go home and I'm like, wow, I guess I have accomplished a lot. Maybe that's why I'm tired.
Yeah.
And because I think it's so easy to get lost in the motions,
Mhm.
to you're just like, okay, accomplished, what's the next? Accomplished, what's the next? Accomplished, what's the next?
Right.
Distracting yourself again from what you're
Mhm.
saying, like the real, like what is going on. If you keep yourself so busy, you can't go back to like what it is that you need to work on with yourself and take care of. if you're always working forward and never reflecting on the back, peeling away the layers of the onion, you really won't get that much further
Yeah,
forward
I think it's
because
a lot
it'll
of
always
that.
hold you back.
Yep. It's that excuse of I don't have time.
Yeah.
Sure you do.
You do.
You do.
It takes 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Seriously.
Literally, I
Just
think just 10 minutes. Like just 10
For
minutes of
whatever
that.
your goal is. Yeah, if it's 10 minutes of meditating, 10 minutes of working out, even if that's how you start, go you. Like 10 minutes of writing stuff down, 10 minutes of planning, 10 literally 10 minutes. Like
That I started meditating again this year because that is something I love.
Yep.
In 2023, I could tell you, I probably did not do it a lick because that was when I started working out again and my schedule got really crazy
Yeah.
early in the morning. 5 a.m. up,
Oof,
coffee, get ready, go to the gym. And like there's something about that sacred morning time. That's kind of what I'm taking back to in 20. I'm like, okay, I need to adjust that time to
You
be
have
later.
Sundays now, right?
Um,
With the hot yoga at night.
yeah, I'm gonna change things up and I'm gonna start working out with Brad after work.
Oh, and that'll be good for you guys too.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm totally excited about it.
that's so
And I
fun.
think like I kind of started to really miss my
Yeah.
morning.
But you tried it
Yeah.
and you did it for a year and you really tried it.
Well,
You
and
really
I did
did.
enjoy it. I
Mhm.
think I just,
And you
you know,
learned a
like
lot.
you go through life and you do like you can't go on a vacation forever, right? Like you can't you really like as a person when you go on vacation, yes, do you have the places you love to go and the people you like to be there with, but you want to try new things.
Absolutely.
And I think that is it with what I did. Like first of all, it was massive for me to cut my hours and do what I did. Now I'm in the regiment
I
of
believe it's funny.
I can't either.
That's really crazy.
It's really crazy. And that I'm in that regiment of doing that. So now I'm used to it, but now I'm like, reflecting on it and being like, okay,
Where
I
can you
really
be?
miss
Yeah.
my mornings of that routine and just easing into it. Now I get up early, and so I have even more of it and time to do things at work that would get put off to the weekend, I could do in the morning.
Yeah, for sure.
Because at 4:30, I
You're
do
up.
nothing.
You're up.
Well, at 4:30
Oh,
PM
yeah.
here, like I'll sit here, you know how I do that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I mean, I enjoy talking to everybody, but I'll stall.
Mhm.
So one day a week I leave, Wednesday, like, cause Friday I still have to do it in the morning, cause Friday's like my nail day, my lash day,
Yeah.
all the other things. But one day getting up and going to work out like that, that's totally fine.
Yeah. I
But-
think I normally am like a Wednesday morning girl. I try and go at least once in the morning.
Yeah, and so for me, Wednesdays will be the only day in here that I'll be trying to get out to go meet him at 4:30 because Thursday I'm still doing the hot yoga
Oh yeah.
at 6. So, but yeah, just changing that too, and I'm wondering if it's gonna like subconsciously was it creating a layer of stress for me because I was like, oh my God, you gotta get up, you gotta get the coffee in,
Yeah.
you gotta get the electrolytes,
home, shower,
like,
yeah.
right, and then it also led to that, like the eating and everything before I had to be here because I started earlier. So I lost, not only did I did start waking up at 5, but then I worked out for like an hour and a half between working
Right.
out and the
I
cardio.
remember Tara was like, gosh, you cut your hours and just add a whole bunch of more shit to your plate. Like,
I know, right? And I was like, yeah, and I don't think I can be here at 9 a.m. for you anymore.
and she was like, yes, you can.
You
You will be.
You will be. So sometimes my breakfast comes with me on Fridays. But yeah, just that readjustment. And it does take that reflection back to that writing in the book, thinking of where I want to be, thinking
Where
that
you've been.
meditating is huge. If you don't meditate, let me just tell you,
Just try it once.
and
For like 5 minutes.
I have to do guided.
Oh, so I can't. I will be
cannot
thinking
do it
about
without, right.
breakfast all
Even
day.
even in guided, sometimes I find myself.
But okay, that
staying
is like the whole point. I feel like that's the whole point of it though, because the more you like, the more you do it and train your brain to no revert back to your breathing or revert back to your physical body. Like it's always like it's that process of going back to
refocus.
right, the refocus that gets easier over time. I think that the majority of people, I mean, I have been I've probably been meditating for like 6 months now ish, and I still
You gotta get
yeah
this book.
I
So
still lose
when I
focus.
started meditating, I started reading this book. Like I was a secret girl. Did I ever tell you this? The movie The Secret. Do you ever see that? There's a book called The Secret. It was popular probably 16 years ago. And I was totally into it. And then I can't, like, I followed her, I got her emails, all this stuff. And it was like the book that inspired Rhonda. I think you say her name is Barn or Brine. And I was like, oh, I'll probably like that. And it's called The Master Key System by Charles Hannell. It was written in 1912.
Ooh.
It's 24 chapters, but each chapter is only 3 to 4 pages long. Each chapter has homework that you have to do before you can advance, and it's all about the mind.
Hmm.
I used to sleep with
So
this book under
interesting to
my
me.
pillow for like years. Like it was like my thing. I need to go back to it. Honestly, I want to reread. I'm going to reread it in 2024 because
Love the goal.
it's so good. But it teaches you how to focus in and how to meditate. And that's where it started. And let me tell you, when I was reading this book, I actually had that experience. I don't know if you've dived into any books about meditation where you feel the vibration. Have you ever heard of that?
I have heard of things along the line, not specifically vibration, but I am not there yet. But I would love to be.
I gotta get you this book.
I would
because,
love it.
like,
Yes.
honestly, though, what is so crazy is that it scared me beyond belief because that's how like in
Maybe
tune and
maybe
in
I have.
focus.
I've done a sound bath before. And there were a lot of I mean, there was a lot of vibrating in the room because it's a
The
sound bath,
sound
but
bath.
that was the deepest meditation I've ever been in my life.
Because it's like how could you not
I
be in
mean,
this like that
it's
like brings you. I need to do that. I've
oh,
never done that.
it's
And
so
this book,
relaxing. My mom was out like a light.
oh,
I
I
mean,
could imagine.
I wasn't
She's
sleeping.
snoring.
She's
Dawn's next to me
yeah,
snoring.
worked all
Like,
day,
we're
you know,
tired. Yep.
right? I dragged her with me. I was like, "You're going."
You're coming to this. So that book though teaches you how to do it without a guided meditation. And that is like
Yeah, I haven't done that yet.
it's crazy. So it scared me when it happened. And you know, when something scares you so good, you're like, you want to get back there so bad. But I've never been able to
Yeah.
since then.
Well,
And
maybe if you read it again,
maybe
2024
if I
is your
read it
year,
again, yeah, like that real deep meditation. But
right?
when I was reading that, my kids were, I mean, it was 16 years ago, so they were younger. So there was nap time in the afternoon.
Oh.
I would meditate for like 45 minutes.
So that's so interesting. Then you work like that's a good advice for a mom out there.
Yeah, during their nap time.
Time, meditate.
Yeah,
You don't have time for it. That's your time, girl.
I would take a 20-minute nap just to
Yeah.
like get myself back in order, and then I would do that, and it was awesome. But yeah, I need to get back to
So
it.
that's so good though that you've always kind of dabbled in
Yeah.
your self-care though. You haven't fallen off the rails too bad.
No, I guess not. I guess I've always
Gotta give
figured
yourself
out
some
how
credit.
to find some time for,
Yourself, yeah.
even if the Yorktown Mall meltdown was a little sad.
It's okay to have a meltdown here and there, right?
It was the meltdown of meltdowns. I can't get in and out of the mall.
Right.
So always find time for yourself.
Yes, always. It's so important to you and everyone around you.
Yeah. And I hope you find your planner for 2024. Well, thank you for listening today to the Curly Girls Obsessions. You can find me on social media on Instagram at Jennifer_Johnson_Janish. The salon, one word, Adored Salon. The extension line, adored_signature_hand-tied_hair. On TikTok, I think it's called the Curly Girl, Curly Specialist. I'm changing that though, so it could change before the time this airs. And you can find Alyssa
At Hair by Alyssa Wolf on Instagram.
And of course, you'll see us on multiple platforms with the salon. And thank you for listening. We would love for you to write a review, hit subscribe, follow. It does great things for this podcast. And if you would like to send us an idea for a topic, Jennifer@adoredhairextensions.com is the place to send it. Thanks. Hope you guys have an awesome day.